Hi, Lisa.
Hi. How are you?
Pretty good. So whereabouts are you moving to? Whereabouts in Mass?
Actually, I think I'm gonna change my address and move to my lake house in Connecticut.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's gonna be hard. A lake house. Oh, nice. Very nice. How's the COVID down there?
It's kind of like New Hampshire. You don't have to wear a mask, but it depends on the store.
Yeah.
I think their numbers are pretty low too, but I don't get the updates like from Bob. So
Right, that's true.
Yeah, basically all of New England, with the exception, Rhode Island's having a little problem right now. But if you look at the states in the nation, where the 5 of the New England states are among the 6 best.
except for Massachusetts.
Massachusetts is right up there too. I'll show you.
So I just got a survey from my daughter's school where they're either going to do something hybrid or remote learning for the rest of for a year.
Mark Thame has entered the waiting room. Why do I have the waiting room? If somebody make me co-host.
Well, I think you signed in as the as Heather. That's why you didn't use your own, right?
Yes, you're right.
So that's why. But we don't usually let people in that aren't on the agenda. So I haven't. He can watch on YouTube. I'm already live on there. I don't know who he is.
Yeah, I've never heard of him.
Want to let him in, tell him that, and then let him out?
Okay.
Who was it? Mark what?
Mark Thame.
Mark, can you hear us?
We've got a. Hello. I was wondering if it might be somebody else that.
Well, under a different name.
Yes, using somebody else's phone, one of the people that we're expecting.
He doesn't. Well, actually, John, I was just looking over the agenda again and saw that the Di Benedentos are supposed to be here, but I never heard back from them. I told them that they needed to give us that more information and fill out the agenda request form. And then I said, once you give me that information, I'll give you the link. I never heard back from them.
Oh, it's Pam. It's Pam.
Oh.
Change her name.
Tricking us.
I'll change her name.
Pam. It's so nice to see you, Pam. I haven't seen you in so long.
Oh, that was too good.
Something different. Hey, Matt, how's camp going?
So far, so good.
Good.
We dodged some thunderstorms on a kayaking adventure on the Salmon Falls today.
Oh,
Oh, wow.
good deal.
So I have to ask, how long did you guys last outside last night?
All night.
Oh, wow. Good job.
No?
In a tent?
Yep.
Oh, wow. You're good. My first bad rainstorm, we bought a camper right after.
The managers were doing canoeing, kayaking on the Pemigewasset, and we got hit with this horrible rainstorm. And we tried to, we had to land and just pull off wherever we could. And I had all this suntan lotion on that was just running down into my eyes.
It sounds like you didn't need it.
I didn't need it, no.
Pam, I think you're muted. That's why. Can you
She's
hear
working
us?
on it. Oh.
Okay. She just typed she couldn't hear.
So Lisa was asking about the states. starting from the one who has the least problems going up is America Samoa, Connecticut, New Jersey, New York, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Guam, District of Columbia, and Maine. So New England hits
Yeah, we're in good shape.
Vermont, and then Vermont's next. So
Well,
they're
we're
all
planning on going to visit. We're taking the camper. We're going to camp, go visit my family in New York. And we can because we're not on the bad list, but New York is basically telling almost every state 14 days.
Yeah, basically New England, it should all be okay because like I said, we're doing the best of anywhere in the nation as a region as well as individually.
Everybody's MUR alert just went off at the same time.
Thunderstorm?
No, that's a story about the president rescinding the
Oh, the on the
immigration rules for
students.
international students.
Okay, I
This
think
one.
I have, Lisa, you're the only one. Okay, I think everyone but Lisa is, I guess I'm listed as a co-host, Lisa.
Yeah, do you
That's
not want to
that's
be?
why I got the waiting room.
Do you not want to be?
I don't care.
Okay.
As long as you run the meeting.
I'm unmuted.
Yeah, we can hear
Yay,
you now.
Pam.
Pretty good.
Oh my God, I'm here.
Hey,
Ah. I'm like, oh man, I lost my flag. No, I have it.
Oh,
Oh, good.
Oof. I need a higher rise here. No, that's not gonna work. I need to get an upper deck going.
You have plan B, Lisa, if it's not a rain?
So the alert just went off for what?
looks like thunderstorms out.
Okay.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
more rain coming.
It's thundering now.
I'm just not prepared to go to the basement.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I'm going to call the meeting to order. As chair of the Northwood Board of Selectmen, I find due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of COVID-19 pandemic and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this body is authorized to meet electronically. There's no physical location, but the board members can observe and listen contemporaneously. We're providing public access. It's via YouTube. The notice and everything is on the website. If there's a problem, you call the town number and dial extension 214. Is that correct, Lisa? 211.
We're going with 211 tonight.
Okay. You'll dial the town number and extension 211. And if we have any problems with the board members meeting via this venue, the meeting will automatically be adjourned. You might not hear a motion or vote to adjourn. All the votes during this meeting will be done by roll call vote. And we're going to start with a roll call for attendance. Matt,
Present.
Beth,
Here.
Pam.
Me?
Yep,
Yes. Well,
And
Tim
Tim.
sounds like Pam.
Here.
great. Okay, we got everybody. I'm going to ask everybody to rise, face the nearest flag and pledge allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, Pam, that was excellent. I think you have practice with that in the classroom, perhaps.
Every day.
Excuse me. Okay.
Wait, you talk?
I didn't see anything for the citizens forum. Did anybody else see any emails?
We do have one.
Lisa did have one. Okay, go ahead.
Hang on 1 second. I've got it right here.
Matt, you got it?
Is it Miss Martin's?
To be totally honest with you, I'm gonna go in and just do a double check. Let me 1 second here. It is the internet going very slow at the office here. Yes, Miss Martins. Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
So this is dated from July 10th, and it says, "Hi, I was hoping that the town could move forward with lake water testing for bacteria this year since the state is not able. I know that several beaches in the past few years have had to close to swimming, and I am worried about bacteria levels becoming elevated without families being aware. Thanks, Ashley Martin." And I can actually speak to this if you'd like, Mr. Chairman. Well, at least from a recreation perspective. We haven't.
Generally, we do not respond to comments if it comes up later in the meeting or we decide how to do it. But I don't want to start establishing that we're going to respond to comments or questions directly.
Okay, that's fine.
If you don't mind, please.
Sure.
Any others?
Oops, that's all I have.
Okay. Okay, then we're going to move on to the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve them? Well, first off, any edits to the June 23rd or June 26th minutes? Well, let's stick with the 23rd. Any edits to the 23rd? Tim?
I just, page 6, line 10, I guess that's supposed to be Mr. Bailey. I mean, it's no big deal, just his name was spelled wrong. But it's not a major. That's the only thing I found.
Good catch. Yep. Okay. Typo there. You knew that, Susan, didn't you? Okay.
Well, we better fix it now if we hear it from Steve. No.
Any other edits?
He's calling me now.
Yeah. He probably is.
Excuse me. Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as amended by Tim?
So move.
And a second? Second. Roll call vote. Matt.
Yes.
Beth.
Yes.
Pam.
Yes.
And Tim.
Yep. Yes, very
Thank
good
you.
job.
And Hal, yes. Sorry. Okay, how about the 26th? Any edits to that?
Nope. So moved.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve them as is. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Beth,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
and Hal is yes. Okay, thank you for your diligence on that. We're now moving on to the consent agenda. Just to remind everybody how the consent agenda works. It's posted with a list of items. I'm going to ask Lisa to read them off. If anybody after Lisa reads them wants to take something off the agenda and address it separately, at that point you can do so. So let's listen to what Lisa has to say and then we'll move on from there. Go ahead, Lisa.
All right, so the Northwood, New Hampshire consent agenda for July 14th, 2020. Payroll manifest dated July 1st, 2020, batch number 14963 for $61,589.87. Batch number 14964 for $24,126.23 for the hazard pay stipends. Batch number 14966 for $2,264.24. It was a supplemental payroll because a timesheet was forgotten. Accounts payable manifests dated June 26, 2020, batch number 14961 for $43,816.23. Batch number 14962 for $353.34 for COVID-19 expenditures. Requisition number 13329 for $7,316.59 for Tyler Technologies. Number 13344 for $22,337.88 for the Health Trust. Number 13348 for $3,700 for cross-country appraisal for the June services. Number 13352 for $2,567.84 for mainstay. Number 13354 for $7,336 for Greg Colby's services for May and June of 2020. Number 13355 for $2,607.84 for mainstay. Number 13357 for $8,558.40 for MRI for our interim TA services. Number 13347 for the release of the fiscal year 2020 appropriated funds for Seacoast Mental Health for $1,500. Number 13346, the release of fiscal year 2020 appropriated funds for Rockingham Nutrition and Meals on Wheels for $1,825. You're approving the SAU 44 estimated fiscal year 2021 annual appropriation due of $8,105,000.
Whoa, not 80 million.
$8,105,000.
The taxpayers might have a heart attack. Oh my gosh. Lisa,
Sorry.
oh, it's just one more zero, of course.
Sounded right to me.
Finance reports, open purchase order reports for 2019 and 2020. Assessing the intent to cut for map 118 lot 2, map 201 lot 8, and map 217 lot 35. Yield tax levy for map 211 lots 2, 14, 15, 16, 17, and map 217 lots 34, 35, 36. And a gravel tax levy for map 217 lot 35. And you also are included a treasurer's report for June.
Okay, so just so the public knows, a lot of these, like the manifests, especially for payroll and accounts payable, are really reviewed by the board in advance and often approved, actually not even tonight, but days in advance, because that's when they need to get out. We're putting these on the consent agenda so that the public knows what we're spending our money on and so that they can see that we're going through an active approval process. But as I said, in many cases, the money or in certain cases, the payroll and accounts payable for certain have already been approved and scrutinized. Another point on this is the school request, the $8 million request. That is a list of dates when the school anticipates requesting the money. Betsy Colburn, what's Betsy's official title for the school? Treasurer. Will actually make those requests one by one. So it's not a lump sum request. And the detail that she gave us tells us what we should expect to have to pay in sequence and the timing, but we will get official requests from her on that. That all said, is there anything on that consent agenda that any of the board members would like to take off the consent agenda and handle separately? Okay, hearing no changes, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote on the consent agenda. Pam?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
Beth?
Yes.
And Hal is yes. Okay, thank you. I think now I'm going to turn it over to Chris/John for an update on the Bow Lake Road Bridge. I just want to mention one thing. Leading up to this, the board had authorized me to sign on their behalf. I did go into Concord to review stuff with the engineers, get some documents. Some of them needed to be, they were signed by the contractor, but not notarized. And there was one part where it needed to be done. So that's all taken care of. And at that point, I basically said to Chris and John, I'm stepping back now from this. And now this is, really your project to run. So Chris, if you could just please give us an update, or John, whoever feels best to do that.
It doesn't matter to me. I got a little bit of information. I met with Steve Ireland, gave him the physical contracts that had to be signed and notarized the other day. So those are at the engineering firm to be filed with the state. That's all set. There is I believe it's a 2 p.m. walk tomorrow for the actual construction project. So anybody that's available is more than welcome to come down.
Well, if we can't have more than 2 selectmen there, that's the only issue. So if 3 selectmen were coming, it would have to be posted as a meeting.
I'm not going to be available, so then that helps in terms of others that want to attend.
I am not.
Okay.
I can't be there either. So if it's,
Okay.
that makes it available for the other 2.
What did you say, Chris, 2?
We can have up to 2 there.
No. What time did you say you're doing the walk?
2 p.m. Yep, 2 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah.
And,
So,
and
yeah,
it's
Tim,
at,
actually,
at the bridge.
if you could
If
make
I'm
it,
around, depends on what's traveling tomorrow. See, yep.
yeah, that'd be great if you could be there. You have some expertise in that area. That would help. Okay. So that sounds like that's rolling along or going to get started. Chris, did they give any indication as to their ability to get the form cast and everything in a reasonable time and get it to us in October?
So that's the only thing that's on the chopping block right now, unfortunately. We won't know until tomorrow whether they have the actual blueprint back from the concrete company that's actually forming the actual bridge or the box
Oh,
culvert.
Stay
So we'll
tuned.
find out that tomorrow. But from what I talked to as far as Steve Ireland, everything seems to be on place. He's been in multiple contacts as far as emails and stuff with Earth themselves. So
Yeah. Well, they're just up the street here, so.
yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, keep us posted. If anything exciting happens, send a note out. Okay. Moving on then to new business. The library paving. I just want to say, I just sent out a note. I don't know, John and Chris, if you saw it yet. But I'll just say that I got a note like just prior to the meeting, or at least I saw it just prior to the meeting, indicating there was some question as to exactly what we're doing for the library, whether we're just paving over versus grinding and repaving. So that might be something we should discuss first, or at least fill us in as to where we stand on that.
As far as the library goes, I'm off mute. As far as the library goes, it's a 2-inch overlay with risers. There was no grinding involved in that. And the estimate that came back is from Manchester Paving and Seal Coating is $12,000. So.
Okay, so what the note from Gail, I believe, says that they thought they were going to have grinding. I have to say, I don't have a recollection on the grinding. I know we were insistent on grinding for the roads.
Right. Yeah. No, the roads themselves, those are getting ground because there's no base. The library it's a parking lot that's been based. So it's old asphalt. That's all it is. That's why it's broke up.
Okay. So I think that might warrant a call then, or a letter or note to them to confirm what's going on and the reason why. The number dollar-wise sounds correct.
Yep.
And if that was similar to the quote we got last year, then it almost cannot be for grinding.
No, if they wanted to grind, it would be double what the numbers are right now.
Yeah. Beth, do you want to speak to that?
Were they concerned because if the pavement's cracked, they were going to just pave over the crack? I'm sure they seal the cracks or do something with that. So
They seal them prior to overlaying them. Yes.
Yeah, when I saw them, they were just basically digging out all the weeds and stuff, trying to clean up the cracks and stuff first. Yep. Yeah. Okay, so does anybody else on the board have any different recollection? Because the trustees, at least per Gail, thought that they were going to get regrinding. But again, I don't have that recollection, but does anybody else have any recollection differently?
What was the dollar figure we had earmarked for that?
I want to say it was around 13,000.
Yeah,
And I just got a
thought-
text message.
yeah.
There was no reference to grinding at all in that. It's an overlay.
I knew it was under 15, so.
This
Yeah.
was coming out of the library, right? Not out of your budget.
This is coming out of the
Yeah.
Facilities Expendable Trust Fund. Yes, correct.
Yeah. Okay. I guess what I would say is, just because they expressed some concern, would you please talk with, I sent you the note, just talk with Gail and just make sure we're not missing something. And, you know, she said she had a quote or something from, it implied something previous. So just take a look at that and make sure we got apples to apples on that, if you would please, before we do something. Does anybody else on the board want to speak to that or have any other concerns? Because if not, then I think we direct Chris to move forward unless there's a complete upset on this.
Yeah,
No.
I sent Fred an email saying that it was overlay, not grinding.
Okay, now just be careful. Gail uses Fred's email address.
So
And
then
if
it's
Gail-
Gail that would have received
Gail
it.
is the trustee.
Whoever it was that sent the email is getting an email back
Yeah,
saying
that's fine, but
basically what this.
But don't call Gail Fred, please. Okay. Thank you for that, Chris. Okay, then next, the recycling proposal from Waste Management. You know, I have to say, I did not see anything in my packet on this. Is there
It was in
something?
there. It was right
Yeah,
after the intent to cut.
Oh, it was? Well, hold on. I saw the intent to cut.
On the back side,
The yield tax for excavation of gravel. Then it started right after that.
Intent filed. Yeah, I got that. Jeez.
The yield tax on timber cut, and you start on the back of that page is recycling service agreement. On the back of the page that says. yield
Oh,
tax.
yeah, you know what? I did see that and I thought it looks, okay.
You probably
Okay, so
thought it was
Chris,
all related to the timber cut.
yes, I did, I have to say. So do you want to walk us, I'll tell you, I'm not, I'm sorry, I'm not prepared, but the other board members sound like they knew this. So speak to them and let's see what happens.
So basically, as you guys know, with me coming into the transfer station and stuff as the public works foreman, I looked at everything in as a whole, between road agent, you know, all the stuff there, and transfer station. So one of the biggest things I found, unfortunately, is the amount of cost that we're paying for recycling and the amount of administrative fees and things like that. So my first step is being the public works foreman. I started distancing myself from NRRA out of Epsom. They're basically a middleman that's supposed to be looking out for our best interest. And unfortunately, I found in the last 6 months that it's not even the case. So basically, we're paying anywhere from 146 to 152.50 per ton to recycle our cardboard and plastic with NRRA. So I made some phone calls, went and knocked on doors, and
Chris, you're breaking up on me.
yeah,
Yeah, his screen just froze.
sorry. It was a message from the fire department. But anyhow, so we're paying with NRRA, we're paying 146 to 152.50 per ton for recycling of cardboard and plastic. On top of that, a delivery fee of $225. So on average, we're on a can that goes out once a week. We're averaging anywhere from $600 to $725 to $750 per week. So I approached Waste Management, talked to their recycling coordinator, and basically had them sign me up, or not sign me up, but perfected a contract with Waste Management for 3 years at a variable rate of $29.76. So it's about $122 a ton savings per ton. So I was just asking the board's permission to review the contract, sign it, so I could send it back and start using Waste Management for my cardboard and plastic and saving the town a significant amount of money.
Okay, so I'm going to open it up for discussion and then we'll look for a motion. Beth?
That rate's locked in for the 3 years, Chris?
It's a variable rate, same as NRRA, unfortunately. So originally we started off with NRRA this year, at the fiscal year, January 1, at $135. And from there, it just gone up and up and up. So it's at $152.50 was the last invoice that was paid. So it's a variable rate in the recycling industry. There's never a locked rate, unfortunately. I asked him if he could lock me in, but he said absolutely not.
Mhm.
So
So
we're paying 600 to 750 a week now. So what do you think we're going to be paying if we switch over?
On average, with trucking, we're going to be paying probably around $200.
okay, that's per week.
Yep. So it's
So
roughly about a
300 per week
$400.
savings, 15,000 a year.
Yeah, exactly. So we were on pace to be almost $50,000. I mean, excuse me, $38,000 to recycle just cardboard and plastic. So I have it down to about $6,000 or $7,000 per year now.
Okay. So Beth, did you want to add anything to that, or should I move on to Tim and then Matt?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
Tim.
And with our contract obviously running out with the lamprey, fund there, Chris has been talking to obviously Waste, and as soon as we get a better price from them, I mean, imagine they'll give us a better, keep us on a good price for the plastic and cardboard if we throw everything their way.
Consolidating, you think will save us money in the long run, Tim?
Send everything to one place and they'll take care of us. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm hoping on, I mean, but the good thing is not being with NRRA, we have, I have the ability to shop my prices around and, keep going from there. I don't think we're ever going to find a rate this low, unfortunately. So, I already spoke to Rick from East Coast Container. It's going to be the standard $250 charge that we're paying now for all of our all of our trash and demo and furniture and all that stuff right now. So it's a $25 change in hauling, but I mean, you're talking $120 to $130 per ton savings. So.
Okay. Matt, you wanted to say something.
Yeah. So, what are the chances we're going to get whacked with this excess contamination fee over and over again under the charges section?
Did you see that invoice from Waste Management?
I don't know if I saw I saw a proposal.
I have one across my. There must be something different we're talking about. Okay. But Matt, what was the thing you were in regards to?
So it looks like there is if we're beyond 10% contamination, then we're going to get slapped with a $250 per ton fee, according to what I'm looking at. So I just want to make sure that A, am I reading that correctly? And B, how do we feel about our ability to stay under that 10%?
Yeah, that should be easily, because so with NRRA it was supposed to be like plastics 1357 and all that stuff, but basically the way we've been sorting it is as what Waste Management wants, which is like 1 and 3 and things like that. So it's your milk jugs, your plastic bottles, things like that. We don't put any totes in there, any gas cans, things like that. Cardboard is usually household, so I mean, yeah, we might get a few pizza boxes and stuff like that, but the way it goes right now, we've actually been pretty decent on what we've been putting in the compactor now.
And is this discussion part of what sort of blew up our TSAC committee?
No, it was more for the fact that where I was looking into things and finding out that NRRA actually wasn't looking at our best interest. They were, between finance charges and our administrative fees and things like that. For instance, our light iron that we basically, it's a free commodity that comes into the town. We pay trucking. They were paying us $50 a ton. I now took it from NRRA, bring it to Lambert's, and I'm getting paid $95 a ton with no trucking. So, I mean, there's a significant amount of money there. It's just, it's a cooperative thing of everything, and I did definitely make some enemies.
Right. I mean, because it's important to me, and I think it's important to be in the sort of public sphere, that this isn't the direction that the advisory committee necessarily wanted to go.
No, for some reason they had their hearts set on NRRA as like they were gold, but I have the invoices to prove otherwise.
Okay.
Okay, so what's the board's pleasure?
May I speak?
Oh, I'm sorry, Pam. I didn't see your hand up.
Yeah, no, thank you. I had some of the questions on section 5 service. The cover, customers shall deliver recyclables. That was, Chris, what you thought would be about a $25 additional charge because we pay the trucking for the.
Yep, we pay the trucking. Of course, we
Okay.
pay the trucking now through NRRA, which is at $225. It's going to be $250 now. So there is a $25 increase in trucking, but
Okay. But it's going to wash out. How about section 6, container access, containers furnished by the company shall remain on the property of the company. So what does that mean?
we own
They
our
bring
own
in-
containers.
We have
So
our own containers.
yeah. So if
All
basically if they give us our cans, then you know, we would utilize their cans, not to be hauled somewhere else, basically.
Right. So do you see over on Exhibit A, recyclables, the plastic that they're looking for is 1, 2, and 5. Are they
Yep.
going to be asking for separations?
No, it's a single sort. So it goes in as one. It goes in as
Okay.
cardboard plastic combo.
All right. And under non-recyclables, there's quite a list there, such as newspapers and mail, which I think envelopes and things like that often get thrown in. So that goes over to Matt with the 10% with non-recyclables. Do you foresee that being a problem in that it's pretty extensive with 1, 2, and 5 as the limitation?
Right. So I mean, there is a possibility of that happening. It's just there's going to be a little bit of training in the beginning to start basically landfilling the papers or putting it into furniture or demo. So I mean, I'm not going to say that we won't be over the 10% for the first maybe month, but we'll definitely work forward towards to definitely not bring in that.
So we're looking at some signage or notification to the people and maybe some additional oversight by the transfer guys. It's a little more work involved getting everybody on board with this.
Correct.
And I looked at process fees, transportation. I think all other things look good to me, Chris.
Yep.
Thank you.
Beth?
So Chris, have you thought about like getting signs for that? Like saying, because like I know I have thrown a pizza box in there.
Yep. Pizza boxes are still okay.
Okay.
So, oh, you wait till I pull your permit.
Usually I stay in the
Scrape
car.
off your thumb sticker.
Just take off your dump sticker now, Beth. Just go. Put your head in the corner for 10 minutes.
No, pizza boxes are okay and stuff.
Okay.
It's just the training of, and you know, the paper, the wax paper that's underneath it, throwing that out versus, you know, a pizza box itself that's completely oil soaked in grease, and but that's all that is.
So Chris, do you think you have the staff to accomplish this?
I do. I really wish I could bump Timmy up to 20 hours a week because it is a huge help having him there, but that's down the road.
Okay. Further discussion on this?
When are you looking to make the switch? Immediately?
So as of right now, tomorrow being Wednesday, our can will be full. So instead of hauling it to Pinard out of Allenstown, if I get this contract signed in to him by Thursday, we can actually do it first thing Thursday. But more than likely, it'll probably be next week.
Well, I thought I saw the place to sign. If there's no further discussion on this, maybe the motion should be to authorize me to sign on behalf of the board, or we can vote on it and sign via Adobe tomorrow on the assumption that it passes.
Or you
Obviously.
could vote to authorize Chris to sign it.
That's above my pay grade.
Are you sure about that, John, for a contract like this?
But you just have to be authorized.
Right.
In the board.
Yeah, okay. If you think.
But I would suggest if you're available is to authorize you to sign it.
Okay.
So it's Chris's fault.
Well, it'll be our fault. It'll be our fault because we're going to.
Good thing I have big shoulders.
Okay, so how do you want to do this?
So since we've had a healthy amount of discussion already, I got one more thought. I can either hang on to it until we have a motion made, or I can say it now. What's your
Put it out now, please.
So I would be a little more comfortable with this if we set a start date of like September to give us a chance to get some signage made up and do some public education and sort of slow roll into this, so we're not getting whacked with that excess fee right off the bat for, you know, several halls. I'm just nervous that that's gonna, if we're not doing it right, it's gonna add up to the point where it's not actually worth the change, and then we've gone through a bunch of mess for nothing. So that would be my preference, would be to just kick it down, you know, a month and then see if we can get some signs made and do some public education in the meantime.
What would we do in the interim, please, Matt?
In the interim, we would stick with exactly what we've got. You know, we just wouldn't change until whatever date we were to choose.
Is Chris, since you brought it up, I just want to ask Chris directly. So hold on just a second, Beth. Is their criteria any different than NRI's?
As far as, no, not really. And I could definitely agree with you on that, Matt. I mean, a little bit of oversight and education at first is not a problem. I will tell you though, in the 2 years or 3 years that we have been using NRA for our cardboard and plastic, we've actually never gone over the 10% margin with them. So I don't know how it's going to be with waste management.
And that makes me feel better, but I do know that we're looking at a slightly more restrictive number of plastics that we're able to recycle with waste management.
With waste I mean, with the NRRAs right now, we're allowed to put in basically heavy plastics, things like that, but our compactor is far too old for that, so we don't. So we're basically recycling everything that waste management wants now because of the age of the compactor and things like that, and not straining the equipment. And everything else that is heavy plastics is basically put into furniture and demo.
Okay. So, well, if you're telling me you're confident that we can stay under that 10%, then, you know, I've got faith in you.
What? How about we go a month from Thursday?
I'd be happy. Again, that's just my thought. I will go with whatever the board decides for sure.
No, I definitely agree with you on that.
So let's just clarify. Chris, you're saying that you're comfortable doing this basically a month from now, so mid-August.
I mean, nothing's going to change, and in fact, I mean, we're paying the same amount of money we're paying right now. It's just for another month. So I mean,
Beth?
It's
okay. Beth, go ahead.
No, I agree with Matt. I think definitely, you know, some signage. People definitely know what they can put in there. That we get the signs up as soon as we can. They can practice for the month and then go on from there.
So I just want to understand, you know, I understand there's a 250 per ton kicker here. Is that what the concern is?
In part, yeah. I also think it's just, if we're going to make the change, I want to make sure that we're making it in a way that we're doing things the way we're supposed to, right? So we can either make the change and play catch up and pay the fee, or start to shift that behavior and then switch vendors. Probably it's a wash, you know. I mean, what we would pay in fees, we're going to pay in extra charges with NRA. So I don't see it purely as a financial thing. I just think it's more, I don't know. It makes sense to me to try to get folks on the same page in advance. But again, I can be talked into doing it the other way.
Okay. So what's the board's pleasure? Chris, let's ask it this way. Chris, if you didn't have to talk to us about it, what would you be doing?
I would actually honestly have to agree with Matt on this.
You sound reluctant to agree with Matt. Wow.
So, Chris, don't go there. Chris, come back to the
good side. It came across wrong.
It makes 100% sense that we do that, you know, at least another month from out, because you're right. Training and education is a lot easier to do now than paying a overage fee or things like that. So,
okay, so pick a date.
August.
Do you prefer a midweek date or a weekend date, or what do you want?
Our cardboard goes out every Thursday. So,
Every Thursday, huh?
yeah. Yeah, we're filling a can every Thursday.
So the 13th is a Thursday, 13th of August or the 20th of August?
No, let's go for more to like probably the first Thursday in September.
The 3rd.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
You get
So-
signs made up by then, yep.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is Chris is asking for a motion for us to authorize him to sign this contract with the start date of the 3rd of September. Do I have a motion to that effect? Tim, thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Beth. Further discussion?
No, good thought, man. Let's get some sign outs, get some teaching. That'll be good.
I think it'll be good.
Yep. Good
Okay,
thought.
so just so everybody knows, we're voting to authorize Chris to sign the contract and to start with this process on the 3rd of September. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Tim,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
and Hal. Yes. Okay, thank you, Chris. That was a good discussion, and I really appreciate everybody's input on that. I think that, again, shows the value of a board. So thank you.
Tell your
Okay.
people, Chris, to watch out for best pizza boxes coming in.
Yeah.
You know, just putting it out there.
Mr. Chairman, while we've got the Public Works Director here, can we get just a quick update on the where we're looking with tree removal on
Oh, yeah, actually, Matt,
Just a
that's a good
2-minute.
point. Yeah, maybe just an update on the road work and the tree work just in general. You know, are we up, did we sign the contracts? You know, is everything in place on that? Are they ready to roll?
I have 4 tree companies that are supposed to be getting me back estimates by Friday. Every single one of them said we're within range. I did unfortunately have to cut some of the trees because the original estimates that were coming in were over 35 to 38,000.
Hmm.
So I did have to cut some trees, basically taking out the worst hazard trees as of right now and the ones that are encroachment on the road. Things like that. I did talk to the landowners, got their blessing ahead of time.
Good.
So
Okay, that preemptive discussion is always valuable. So thank
one gentleman that I believe it's under the elm said I'm the first one to ever knock on his door in 40 years and tell him what we're doing.
Wow. Well, good.
But
Good.
as far as that goes, I have Bartlett Tree Service, Tip Top out of Nashua,
Mhm.
Urban Tree Service, and there was one other. I can't remember. And they're supposed to have all estimates back to me. As far as R&D paving, we're looking at the end of August, beginning of September.
Okay.
So
Tim,
they're
you have a question? Oops, I'm sorry, Chris. Did you have more to say before I recognize Tim?
Beginning of August, the end of August grinding, and then the beginning of September paving.
Done before October what?
Done before so basically the 90 days after the awardment date, which is in October 26th, I believe.
Yeah, I think we're shooting for the 15th.
starting to get chilly?
Yeah, we don't want it to get too cold. Okay. Tim, you had a question or a comment?
What are they hauling the trees away, Chris? What's the bid? They trucking them? They gonna dump them over the bank at the ball field?
So the stuff that's unmarketable or the stuff that the landowners do not want, because the landowners did express some issue or where the wood was going to go and they want it. So
Oh,
I said, by all means, you can have it.
There's nothing
some
on that
will
road worth, yeah.
Some will stay on site, and then most of it will be trucked to the ball field.
oh, to the ball field then. Okay.
We're gonna dump all the chips up there somewhere. We can use chips somewhere. They grind-
Yeah, the chips I have down to my transfer station in the highway
Okay.
garage. So
Oh, good, thank you.
Good.
Mr.
Any other
Chairman.
questions on the road work?
Mr.
Pam?
Chairman, yes. Thank you for recognizing me. I just wanted to say to everyone, a big thank you to Chris. We went on the $2 tour of the transfer station and the highway department, and we did go out and see these trees and the bridge issues. the sinkhole on Harvey Lake Road. So he gave me a really good tutorial of where the hot spots are as far as these issues. So I am coming up to speed on those, and I am familiar with the trees now. So I want to thank Chris for that.
Good, good. I'm just a little bit surprised he charged you less than me, but okay. Okay, anyway, that was a good point, Matt. Thank you for bringing it up. It was on my mental list, but not on my paper list. So appreciate you bringing that up. Anything else for Chris?
Can I go back to the paving for the library?
Oh, yes, go ahead.
So tentatively, we talked to Manchester Paving because they came in at the lowest bidder. With the approval of the board tonight, and I'm 100% confident that there was absolutely no grinding involved. It was just an overlay, 2-inch overlay with risers on the catch basins. Manchester Paving can be in there as soon as Thursday and Friday and have it done and striped and sealed. So it's kind of a time sensitive on the approval on that.
I thought how did we leave that? Didn't we award that already or no?
It was up to the trustees to decide. It was out of our hands. The trustees would pick the Manchester Paving.
I believe that the Board of Selectmen will have to approve the vendor, given the dollar amount to authorize the proceeding. So I would think you'd take a vote to go with Manchester Paving.
Okay, I want to make sure this is clear, that we have a memo of understanding that says we are basically responsible for we, the town, in terms of getting the stuff done, are responsible for the work outside.
What was R&D's bid, Chris, for the library?
13.5 or 13.6, I believe.
Okay, so Manchester's under them a little bit.
Yeah, by 1,500.
So having two companies.
Okay. You know, I have to say, I remember commenting that I use Manchester Paving for the work that I just did around different properties I have. So I'm almost certain we discussed this before. Are you sure we didn't take a vote on this?
I wasn't aware of it.
Okay,
So,
if nobody else can remember, we're going to have this again on another item.
I would
so-
appreciate a vote again, because that way I can
Yeah,
call
we might as
call
well.
them tonight.
Okay, you know what? Maybe it was we just opened them and discussed them. Maybe we didn't actually make a vote. So I'm looking for a motion to approve Manchester Paving. What's the amount, Chris?
12,000 even.
12,000 even. That includes the striping.
Correct.
And so basically it fulfills all the components of the contract, or all of what they were looking for. Okay, is there discussion on that? Well, hold on a second. So the motion, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. And now do I have a second?
Nope.
Like-
Give it to Pam. She earned it.
Okay, Pam, okay, thank you. Discussion? Seeing no further discussion, vote to approve Manchester Paving for the library work. Matt,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
and Hal is yes. Okay, Chris, thanks for bringing that up. Like I said, I could have swore we were already moving forward, but rather be sure of it than have a problem later. So
Yeah,
thank you.
no, I just appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's better to be sure.
So you're gonna let one of the trustees know, Chris? Or I know the librarian's out of town for a day or two.
Yeah,
But
Donna's on-
you
She's on
touch base with-
vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah, send a note to Fred. He'll tell us why.
So Donna did send me a contact info to get back to one of the ladies, the trustees. So I'll contact her tonight and let her know.
Yeah,
Because
please.
in conjunction with the paving, we have the furnace and AC unit. So.
Oh, you're making progress on that?
Oh, I have hard numbers. I could actually, I mean, if you guys wanted to award it tonight, we could, but I'd rather give it to you guys in paper.
Yeah, please.
So we have 3 quotes, anywhere from 16.8 to 12.5. That's all brand new units, AC, heat, everything like that. I was in contact with the trustee of trust funds tonight. The expendable trust has 53,125 in it, so we're we're definitely not at the complete spending cap of their expendable trust fund. So good.
Yeah, there was some question I had, at least on one of the quotes, where they quoted two different systems. One was, I think, more of a heat pump type system. It was considerably more. Did the trustees look at that and have any thoughts on that, or are you just now going to go to them with those quotes?
No, I mean, that was the estimates that I looked at directly. I mean, you're talking apples to oranges, and
Okay.
they threw us a banana.
Oh, okay. Well,
Did-
that's why we have you on this. John, did you want to say something?
Well, the question I had for Chris is, what were they able to demonstrate that the banana was enough electrically efficient to pay for itself in a shorter period of time than the orange and the apple?
No.
That
So I
doesn't-
did a little bit of research on the reams and things like that to see what the units were, and basically, longevity wise, I mean, you're talking efficiency flow of 0.2 gallons per hour. So I mean, how much are you honestly really saving with a $25,000 unit?
Yeah. Okay.
So,
Okay. So you have some things to go over with the trustees to get a consensus
Yep.
on that?
Yep.
Okay, that's great that you're moving along on that. So I'm just going to throw this out on a wild guess that maybe you're taking care of it too. What about the exterior trim painting?
the exterior trim paint or painting?
Painting. They want the exterior trim painted this year too.
No,
I
I
don't,
was not,
I
I was
haven't.
not aware of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I
I
guess I'll
haven't
have to read my email again.
been on that.
Okay,
We'll have to-
while you're talking with them, get the details on the trim painting too, please.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think I'd given that one to Chris because I was trying to prioritize the other two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, my apologies, John, for stepping on your toes.
No, that's fine. If Chris could start the discussion on the painting, that's good.
Yeah, just remember, it has to be the cream color. It can't be off that color. Just teasing.
Hey, I don't paint, so I don't care. I'll give them what they want.
Colorblind, you don't want me helping.
Oh,
No.
number 64731, please. Okay, that was excellent. Well, okay, last call for Chris. Hearing none, Chris, thank you very much. And again, appreciate you doing the outreach and stuff. That's just really excellent. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we're moving on to the forum guidelines. You know, I could have swore I brought this up, but I don't have it here, so hold on.
Hal, before we go there, did we actually take a vote to authorize somebody to sign the contract?
No. No.
I'm glad somebody's paying attention. Chris, come on back.
I'm back.
Okay. Well, you know, I have a roll call vote, but was that for something, must be for something else. Okay.
Well,
Okay, so let's just do it. We have a motion to hire Manchester Paving and Chris to sign the contract for it. Is that correct?
No, I thought we talked about Chris signed the contract for waste management.
Recycling.
We didn't.
the recycle.
Waste,
I thought
the
you
waste
voted
management cardboard starting.
Waste
Yeah.
management.
I'm pretty
No,
sure,
I thought we did do that.
yeah, I'm pretty sure we did that one.
If I know Susan's been taking minutes, if she is able to mention to us, did we vote on both of them?
On. You did not vote on who's signing the contract. I thought it was. Okay, sorry.
I think it was just for waste management, not
It was
for
just for waste management, yeah.
So you voted for waste management, but they haven't voted for Manchester
Right.
paving.
No,
But we didn't vote to authorize Chris to sign waste management.
right.
Well, no, that was all in one. It was to, on
It
the list,
wasn't phrased that way, so you've got to have that vote. It's got to be phrased.
no, I'm certain because I said it. But if you want to revote it again, I'll do it.
Just meant,
So going back to waste management, the motion, I'm looking for a motion. to have,
Authorize Chris.
no, well,
I thought
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's,
let's see
that's
that.
the vote that I have the notes on to use that for, but I don't have. Okay, never mind.
let's just revote it, then there's no
Yeah,
question.
that's fine.
So I'm looking for a motion to have Chris for Chris to sign the contract effective September 3rd for waste management recycling. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved. Oh,
Okay, so Pam first and then Matt second.
second.
Any further discussion? So again, we're voting for two things, the contract and authorizing Chris to sign it. And I guess three things actually, that it starts on September 3rd, that we start sending stuff on September 3rd. So Chris, I don't know exactly when you have to sign the contract or be effective with it, but we're going to start sending stuff on September 3rd.
Correct.
That clear to everybody? Okay, so let's do the roll call vote. Beth,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Matt.
Yes.
Okay, now we're going to move on to Manchester Paving. Authorizing Chris to hire Manchester Paving, sign the contract for it, and do the paving on Thursday. That includes the striping and everything else associated with that project. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
And second by Tim. Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Pam,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
and Hal is yes. And I didn't vote on the previous one, but you can mark me down as a yes. Okay. Are we ready to move on now?
Bye, Chris.
See
Quick
you
bye.
later, Chris. Again, good job. Thank you.
Chris, check your text message after.
Okay.
Okay, so thanks to John, we had some draft text as to how to handle the forum letters that we get. And I'm going to read it and then ask for a motion to adopt this language. So if you would please. When the board is meeting electronically without access for the public to verbally address the board may accept written comments from the residents to be read into the record during the electronic meeting. The letters must be sent to the board via the Citizens Forum email address posted on the town website. Alternatively, they can be sent via the U.S. Postal Service, attention BOS, Citizens Forum. Submissions must identify the resident by name and be received by noon the day before the meeting to allow time to verify that it is is in fact from the resident. Consequently, contact information must be included with the letter. If the town cannot verify the identity of the person, the letter will not be read. The reading will be limited to the first 400 words of the email. Just for everybody's note, that is equivalent to approximately the 3-minute limit that we normally have. The reader is not required to read aloud any vulgarities or swearing in the reading of the letter and will make clear that what is being read is the opinion of the author of the letter/email and not those of the one reading the text or the board. Okay, so it's not the opinion of the reader, nor is it the opinion of the board. So like I said, I'm looking for a motion to adopt that as our new policy. I know our other one was a little bit more restrictive. We've received some feedback regarding that, and I think this is compliant in all the manners now that we're in terms of free speech and stuff. Does anybody have any comments, suggestions, or changes to that? Matt?
So I agree very much in concept with the idea of limiting what gets said as much as possible, as limiting as little as possible. The piece that was in the previous guidelines that isn't here and is the only part that honestly makes me a little nervous is if someone wants to write a letter and hammer one of us as an elected official, that comes with the territory. I am not comfortable with having to read aloud a letter that disparages a member of our staff on a personal level. And that I would prefer to see some language like that in here. But again, I understand that when we start down that slope, it might get a little slippery of what we add.
Yeah, okay. Further comments? Beth?
I mean, I agree with Matt, because if we were in a meeting, you would use your gavel to stop that, you know, if someone was talking badly about somebody. But then again, how do we can't censor everybody.
Actually, the guidance that we got is that we can't, and I would not at this point. And I think the townsfolk have to recognize if they want good people to work for us, maybe they need to consider what they say about the employees. It's a two-way street, and if the people want to speak up and make it more difficult for the employees, they want to make it uncomfortable for the employees, First Amendment right says they can do so. And they just need to recognize that that might affect our ability to hire people. And maybe they will, maybe they won't.
We should just encourage people to be nice.
They don't have to be.
I know, but
They don't have to be. And again, you know, if people don't recognize that that's to the detriment of the town, then there's nothing we can do about it. Nothing we can do. And if people want to do that, the only thing you got is peer pressure. So I'm just saying, we're going to let the folks read it and let the chips fall where they may. Now, I think that'll show what kind of town we are. That's my perspective on it. So anyway, any further comments on the write-up? Matt?
It's a quick one. And my thought is that I'll defer to whatever the chairman thinks is appropriate for these guidelines in this moment, because if we were in the room, he's the one holding the gavel. So I think if it sounds like Hal's happy with exactly what's here. So I'm gonna vote for what's here.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. And that's based on John's recommendation, also some research that he did in terms of First Amendment rights, also some feedback I got from other folks in terms of, you know, what isn't allowed. And that includes, you know, our legal counsel, our legal training, and also some other input. And, you know, basically what I'm saying is people have a right to say what they please, and that'll reflect on them in the town and our ability to maybe deal with employees, like you said, Matt, but that's the way it is. Any further discussion?
So moved.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Do I have a second?
Second,
Thank you, Pam. We'll do a roll call vote. Tim,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Beth,
yes.
Pam,
yes.
and Hal is yes. I know that was a difficult point, but I think, you know, I just appreciate you voting for that, because I think that's the way we need to move forward.
Hal, are you gonna send that to me so I can post it, please?
Who said that?
Lisa?
Okay, I wasn't sure whether it was you or
no.
Susan. Okay, so I'm going to do that right now because,
Just sent it.
oh, you did. Okay, great. Well,
Matt.
appreciate that. Okay, well, I'm in a bit of a dilemma on the next item. And I'll just tell you my dilemma. I had this on the agenda and I dreamed that we already appointed him, so I told him that last Thursday.
I was wondering about that, but I didn't say anything.
So I'm begging the board to please appoint Bob Strobel to the Highway Advisory Committee.
I'll make a
Let's make
motion.
Hal's dreams come true.
He
I'll
seemed
make a
okay with
motion.
it.
So do I have a
He's all
motion
right
to
with it.
appoint Bob? He did.
I will make a motion to appoint Bob Strobel to the Highway Advisory Committee.
Thank you. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Thanks, Beth. Any
You're welcome.
discussion?
What's there to discuss? You've already promised him.
On
Well, I
the
would
plus
say-
side, he'll be very useful, right? So that's good.
No, very well, welcome addition. He's
Yeah.
been an alternate
Yeah,
for a
yeah,
while,
Bob-
so.
Bob knows his stuff, so yeah. So let's do a roll call vote. Matt,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
and Tim?
Yep.
I'm trying to decide how I should vote. No, yeah. Okay. Thank you on that. Yeah, I guess I was just so anxious about that. So anyway, thank you for going over that with me. I would like to have a discussion on committee assignments now that Pam is on board. So I'm going to bring up my spreadsheet and list off the different committees that we have, and then we can discuss how we want to divvy up the work. So let me just save this as a different version.
What
So
did Jim have for a committee? Do you remember? I know budget.
Yes, so hold on a second. What's the date today? 14 July. I just want to save this as a different version. Thank you. Yeah, so Jim had the budget committee. He was the alternate on the economic development. He was on the town-owned properties, and he was on the BudFin with me. So, and I just want to say one other thing. I think this is going to be a tough year from looking at the finance perspective. And I'm anticipating spending a lot of time on the BudFin stuff. I'm hoping we can get somebody else to join me. But I really am going to struggle with doing that, the planning board and the safety facilities. The strategy for the safety facilities. And I personally would like to focus on the finance side of that. So for me, I'm asking if there's anybody that would be interested, in addition to covering some of Jim's stuff, maybe picking up on that safety facility strategy committee also. Because like I said, I think there's going to be a fair amount of time on the finance and budgeting stuff. And I think there's going to be a lot of work there.
When do they meet?
It's like I'm sorry, safety facilities. I'm just going to try to find the next one here. So it was July 15th, so it's like the third Wednesday of the month. It's always on a Wednesday. It's been always on a Wednesday. We've only had 2 meetings so far. I'd have to look back through my notes to see when the next one coming up is. Well, actually, maybe I can do it from the calendar. Sorry, I should have. I'm gonna have to go back and look at my notes. I don't know. I'm sorry. But I'm pretty sure it's the third Wednesday. So, so going back to the list, we have the budget committee, the planning board, economic development, highway advisory, recreation, transfer station advisory, town facilities, safety facility, strategy, the calendar. Actually, we held off on that. Town-owned properties, governance, we tabled that one also, and then budget and spending. I'm going to say that maybe we need to narrow this down to a few choice ones. I'm thinking budget and spending, we are so tight, I think we got to do that one. And also, we need somebody to represent us on the budget committee. There's a requirement that we have somebody on the planning board. I'm currently doing that. I'd be willing to give that up after we get through this backlog of stuff. We have delayed folks so long now that I feel it's important that we get through the 3 or 4 critical ones that we have and not put them through yet another person coming on board, having to listen or ask all kinds of additional questions and stuff again. So I'd be willing maybe to pass on the planning board one at some point, but certainly not right now. And then let's see, economic development, maybe we can hold off. Highway advisory, I think with Bob coming on board, that would probably be a good one to keep. Recreation, Matt, I assume. How do we feel about the town facilities? Do we want to keep a representative on that committee? Or how do we want to handle that one?
Should we just merge the facility? I mean,
Actually, that's an interesting.
Where Chris
Usually in
does both departments, should we just merge that?
Are you saying because Chris now handles both of them, maybe merge that?
Yeah.
That's an excellent thought, really. Tim?
I'm on the highway, and back when I was just a regular taxpayer, I went to a lot of the meetings, and they talked. Half the people were on both committees back then, so I don't mind taking that on. If I got to get with Chris, I know, like obviously Mr. Strobel just came on, and 2 or 3 other people Chris has talked to, but we got to get a few more people.
Yeah.
You know.
I think, look, part of my discussion later on was going to be about, what do we do given that we got a lot going on right now and got to really focus on some stuff. I like that idea, fewer meetings and we still cover everything. So do we want to say highway advisory / facilities?
Yes.
Okay.
So you just have to let like the library trustees know, because Betty Smith would be going to that, Tim.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's some logistics associated with this that we'll have to deal with, but I kind of like that idea.
I think there's people that have been elected to be on that committee as well, so.
Yeah, well, and, people are appointed to both committees. We're going to have to, go through the reappointment process or, tell the folks what's going on and all that. So what I'm going to suggest is let's decide how we are going to divvy up the work, and then who's ever assigned to those can work their way down through. Matt.
So just one quick thought that if any of those committees were created through a warrant article, we might be a little hamstrung on our ability to merge them, right? Do we know if the genesis of either of those?
I do not.
Really
I do
good
not.
point.
Someone should ask Linda. She always knows my my questions.
Well, I'll tell you what, even if they are separate, there's no reason we can't call a quote combined meeting.
That's true.
And so I guess I'm going to trust that Tim, and if there's another person with him, we'll just trust that they'll figure out some way to deal with that situation or any of those things like that come up. So if we were to do that, what do you want to do about the transfer station advisory? Do you want to hold off on that till we can get, people in and actually talk, or do we want to hold off on even meeting for a while? What do we want to do on that one?
Well, that was a committee that we made that committee because we didn't have anyone really in charge of the transfer station.
Okay, so they did ask for guidance as to what they should do and shouldn't do. maybe I guess that's a discussion we're going to have. I don't know if I'm prepared to have that tonight, because that could be maybe a half hour or hour to do it right. For that one, I'm going to just ask, let's just leave it for now, and then we'll revisit it at one of our future meetings. But I think we need to make a formal decision on that, and then just what folks are going to do. Does anybody disagree with that approach? Okay. So then, okay. So then I think the ones that we have are as follows. Budget committee plan that we need to focus on tonight. Budget committee, representative, planning, highway advisory / facilities, recreation, safety facility strategies, and the budget / spending strategy, what Jim and I called the BudFin committee. So that's
The
one.
what?
The BudFin. We call it the BudFin.
Budget finance.
Budget finance. Sorry. Hey, Jim chose that one. Don't blame that one on me.
Okay.
And he's gone. So, yeah. So, the other ones, I think, we got so much on our plate, like town-owned properties and stuff. Let's just defer till we get some breathing room. Same thing with the calendar. The only thing that's really got to be on the calendar in my mind is we got to get the schedule right on the stuff for the budget. And John's been working with Ginger on that. So from my perspective, I think that's in better shape already. So again, let me list them out. Budget, committee rep, planning board, highway / facilities, recreation, safety facilities strategies, and BudFin. And I'll commit, I guess, to doing the planning for now and the BudFin stuff for now. But as I said, I really would appreciate if somebody would pick up on the safety facility strategies, for me anyway. Any takers?
I can do it.
Okay, thank you, Beth. I really appreciate that.
Still doesn't get out of the doghouse in a pizza box, so.
Okay, so
I don't really get out of the car when we go to the dump. Oh, wait.
so hold on a second. That's gonna be,
Station.
so Beth, hold on a
What?
second. Yeah, so Beth, you're taking that one, right?
Yeah, I can't go tomorrow night though if it's the third Wednesday.
I'm gonna make myself a note and I'll find out for sure. My apologies. I apparently didn't file it in the subfolder, so.
Pam, while Hal is writing, what would your preferences be in terms of?
Yeah, good question, Matt. Thank you.
Well, I know that Ginger wants Matt over on budget. So
Say
I don't
that
know how
again.
we all feel about that.
Say that again, please.
I just got a text from Betsy Colburn that says they want Matt on budget also, so.
Whoa. So apparently Matt's really good, or I'm scary, one or the other. So I'm going to defer. Beth, you're saying safety and facility.
I mean, if you want to, I don't. Does it make a difference to me?
What else do you? Is that the one you're doing, or is there another one you do, or are we picking?
We
Well, I
should
was on
build
the
off the list.
If you're gonna combine facilities and highway, I'm on the highway, so I was gonna take facilities.
So that's Tim on that.
So yeah.
That leaves recreation and budget for Matt and I to either arm wrestle or rock, paper, scissors. I'm thinking Matt should go on budget because he's got a little more history with the board than I do.
I'll go wherever y'all want me.
And I'm all for recreation. I just bought a new lawn chair.
Perfect.
Wow.
No, Pam, just to give you the full sort of understanding, I am a professor of recreation. That is what I
Oh.
do. So,
Well, see, now here's the problem, Matt, is I teach economics.
yeah,
So, and US history. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I'm willing to take budget or I know zero about recreation other than the lawn chair. So
Well, how about,
Facilities and planning
I
board
mean,
afterwards.
well, how
do you
about,
want the safety? I mean, I'll do rec. I don't,
well, either that or Matt has I was gonna say, Matt,
does Matt want to do
let me
both?
just ask Matt real carefully, real quick.
real carefully.
At the last meeting, or when you agreed to do the finance or the budget committee rep, you would express it something like, well, I'll do it this one meeting.
But now he's got a fan club.
Yeah.
which is a selling point. I'd
Yeah,
like to be
okay.
popular.
So I just want to make
But no,
sure.
there is, I am not against filling that slot, nor do I have any strong desire to be the one in there. I'll do it if it's where I fit.
Okay, so I think Pam's correct. It's either you or her on that. Pam, how do you feel about rec versus the budget committee?
I probably know more about budget and finance than I do about recreation. However, I would be getting up to speed as quick as I could as far as the budget committee and certainly utilizing their help and expertise. I am not well, okay. So I buy the make a size, select a size paper towels, and I select the small size and I cut it in half to use that. So I'm pretty fiscally conservative. So
He can
I
be the
don't know.
budget fund, whatever you called it. Bud fund.
Bud
Budfin.
fun.
Bud fin.
Bud fin.
Well, yeah, we want you on the bud fin then too, but
Yeah, for sure.
actually, there would be an advantage to that if she was on the bud fin and was the budget committee rep. There would be an advantage to that because then she would hear some of the additional discussions and maybe some of the questions that come up during the budget committee meetings. She might have already seen some of that stuff then.
Right.
And Matt, I did notice that you were the alternate for the budget committee on my spreadsheet. So maybe if you would still be willing
Happy
to
to remain the alternate. Yep, absolutely.
All right, so Matt's taking recreation and I just jumped into, and Hal, what we'll do is you'll mentor me. We'll make the transition on Budfin.
Yeah, so the bud fin, we're gonna do just some of what you said. Where does the town need to cut the paper
Sure.
towels in
You're
half?
gonna make
Sure.
small paper towels.
And Hal, could you tell me, or somebody tell me, budget committee, when do they meet, and the Budfin, when does that meet?
We've been meeting actually with John during the day on selective Tuesday mornings, but we'll make a mutually agreeable time for you.
I'm good for Tuesday mornings up until we get to going back into school, and then we would have to shift it.
Okay, well, we'll set one up initially and then we'll go from there.
So that's budget, and when's budget committee?
August 5th is their next meeting. Susan, is that what you have?
5th or 7th?
5.
5, okay.
August, and what night is that?
That's a Wednesday night.
Wednesday.
Yeah.
And they usually meet around what time?
7-ish. Yep.
7-ish. Nothing formal. And how
Right.
long do their meetings run? Are they 3, 4 hours, 2 hours?
It depends.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think mine was an outlier the other night at 3 hours. I think they tend to go a little quicker than us, don't
but-
they?
Okay.
Like
Nothing
7
comes.
hours.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So August 5th, and we'll talk more, Hal, getting me in contact with who I need and what their meeting format is.
Okay, so what I heard was this. Budget committee, Pam, with Matt as the alternate. Highway advisory / facilities, Tim. And Beth, would you be willing to be an alternate on that?
Yep.
Okay, excellent. And then recreation is Matt. And Beth, are you the alternate on that too?
Yep.
Okay. And then you did agree to pick up on the safety facilities strategies.
But I
Thank
can't
you.
go tomorrow night.
Okay. If it's tomorrow, I'm going to find out when it is, and I will, if it's tomorrow night, I'll go. But then if you could just continue thereafter, I would appreciate it.
Let's let me know where and when and everything.
Yeah, I'll,
Okay, thank you.
again, I just can't find it now while I'm doing this stuff here. Okay, so then I've got, okay, so you'll do that upcoming, thank you. And
You're
I'll
welcome.
do planning, and who wants to be the alternate on that? Beth is now fairly heavily overloaded. Pam,
I could alternate, but I'm not, would that be a
Yeah.
conflict?
would you be willing to do that, Pam? Because you have, some sort of related experience.
Yeah, and I've been to some of their meetings and stuff. So as an alternate, Hal, I will do planning.
Okay, that'd be great. So let me just review this for actually, if you want, I can try to share my screen. Do you want me to do that? Or do you want me to just read them all?
I just want to.
Send us a chart tomorrow or a list. That's fine.
Matt, did you want to say something?
No, I just wanted to point out, so I know that we sort of said that the economic development stuff can sort of take a back seat, but as we enter the sort of recovery phase of the COVID emergency stuff, there's
Yeah.
going to be a fair bit to do on that side. So
Yeah.
far I've just been forwarding emails and sending resources and stuff, but we're going to, once the world comes back to life a little bit, there's going to be some work to do there.
Yeah.
So I plan on keeping that on my front burner.
Okay, thank you. And then similarly, we've got, some town-owned property stuff that we're going to have to get into and stuff too.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but again, I think you're right, Matt. Let's get through what we're in the midst of right now. So let me read them off and just make sure I'm not missing anything. Budget Committee, Rep. Pam with Matt as the alternate. Planning, Hal, Pam is alternate. Highway and Facilities, Tim with Beth as alternate. Recreation, Matt with Beth as alternate. Safety Facility Strategies is Beth. We don't have an alternate on that.
I'd be happy to be the alternate on there.
Okay, great, Matt. Thank you very much. And then the Bud Fin is me and Pam. So there's no alternates. That's both of us.
And we're
I think-
transitioning. Hal, you would become an alternate, I assume, eventually.
No. On the Bud Fin,
Both of us?
the Bud
Okay.
Fin, it's both of us. We
Okay.
need
That'll be fine.
because the idea is that we're going to do maybe some more detailed dives into the finances and, spending and projections and stuff, and then come back to the full board with recommendations. It's different than representing the board at the budget
At the meeting.
committee.
I got you.
We would be coming to the board with recommendations, which then you might then speak to at the budget committee meeting.
Sure.
And that's why I thought maybe, it would make sense to include you on that. Because it might make it easier when you're working with the budget committee.
Sure. That's good.
Yeah. And just a note to the rest of the board members. John and I did meet with Ginger to talk about some of the budget related items. And we had a very useful meeting in terms of discussion about recasting the budget and some of the components of that. I think it was very good. And I just want to let you know, it's probably going to continue, that we will continue to use her as a resource. So Pam, you'll get to, work with her a little bit more closely, even prior to, maybe not this upcoming one, but future ones. And I think, all of that will lend itself to us being everything's, I think, will gel a little bit better. People will have already thought and discussed some items. So I think things will flow a little smoother from that perspective also, or at least
Sure.
that's my hope. Because I want to really have a successful budgeting season this year. Okay. Thank you very much for volunteering for those different assignments. I really think we have a good mix of skills, and I think we got them distributed pretty well. So I'm looking forward to some good things. Okay, there's two things coming up related to item F. The one is the Masons asked a question regarding rebuilding and their tax status. There's been some discussion on that, and we did get some legal opinions. I think Matt and I need to work with them to explain the situation and then come back to the board with a recommendation. And again, with everything going on, we got the reminder from them, but we haven't been able to deal with that yet. But I think we should be able to do so shortly. But there's also a second component that they had. I'm trying to find it now.
The craft fair vendors.
Say that again, please, Tim.
The craft fair, the one, the
Yes,
craft
the
fair
craft
vendors.
fair. So I think we need a motion to allow them to hold their craft fair. Is that what we're looking for? Is that what they were looking for?
So, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I will be reclusing from item F consideration due to conflict of interest.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
John.
Yeah, in particular, not only approve the craft fair, but understand that some of the tents and stuff, the vendors will be setting up on what is town property on the edges. So that's, you're basically allowing them to proceed and to use all the area inside the fence.
Okay, so what we're looking for is a motion to allow them to have the craft fair and use some adjacent town space to do so. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Thank
Second,
you. Thank you, Beth. Discussion.
I mean, is it safe to assume it would look similar to the way the farmer's market used to run over there?
That was my
Grassy
assumption,
area?
but we only have his letter to go by
Yeah.
at this point.
that's how they've done the craft fair though before. Like that.
Like in that same setup, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that.
I mean, it's not going to be in a building. There's no building there, so.
Right.
Right. And the fence is up, so they can't even move over more, so.
And that's, oh, good,
John wants to clarify something or add.
No, it was just an extraneous comment that I saw the New Hampshire Craft Fair, which was always so nice up at Sunapee, is going to be virtual this year.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Ooh,
Oh,
wow.
It's a nice place to go to.
I know, I like going
I've
up.
been there many times.
Nice drive up, nice walk around, a lot of beautiful things.
Okay, so any further discussion on the craft fair by the Masons?
And we can't control people parking in the parking right, so this all comes, first serve, whatever, so it is
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah.
Are we gonna ask them to complete one of the facility use forms and basically it just requests that property?
Well, it's only a small amount. It's our property, actually. I don't think we'd need to have a facility use for they're gonna basically extend out, the fence is on some of our property, so they're just gonna go out into that a little. That would be my thought. I mean, if you want, we can require one.
No, I'm not worried. If there's some sort of paper trail that allows us to cover our butts from a liability perspective, if something did happen.
Okay, we could ask for one.
Okay.
We just won't grant them permission to rebuild. No.
Well, how about we then, could I get the motion amended to allow them to do that, subject to filling out the
Covering-
facilities use form?
I don't remember who made
Yep.
the motions in a second, but yes,
I second.
Yeah.
Okay, I think Matt, you made the motion, but Tim's willing to.
I'd like to amend the motion.
Okay. And basically you're amending it to say, subject to a
Subject
facility.
to either completion of the form or the provision of a insurance waiver or something like that.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, roll call vote. Matt. Oh, no,
Yes.
hold on a second. Sorry. Hold off, Matt. Beth,
Yes.
Pam. Oops. I'm not hearing you,
Oh,
Pam.
she's recusing.
He's recused.
I got it. Okay. Tim
Yes.
and Matt.
Yes.
And then Hal is yes. Okay, so Matt, you and I gotta talk to
Yeah.
talk to them about that. So prompt me on that. I got a lot going on, so I'll wait for a prompt from you. Okay, so
Now, just to back up 2 seconds, I got a text from somebody. There is a safety committee meeting tomorrow night. It's on the website, so
okay,
you'll have to cover that one.
okay, I will.
Just to
I will.
prompt you for that.
Yeah. Well, actually, hold on a second.
I'm the alternate, but I'm not available either. I apologize.
No. If it was scheduled, I planned on it, so it's not an issue.
Just to,
Yeah, okay, yeah, it's on my daily calendar. I don't know why it's not on my monthly. Okay. So that's okay. Okay, so with the board's pleasure, there are 3 or 4 other items that I would like to bring up tonight. I'm going to list them. If anybody objects to me bringing them up tonight, then we'll pick a time to do them later. So one of them is I'd like to have a discussion on our next steps in terms of town administrator. I'd like to revisit or vote on using the meeting room so that we are very specific about that in terms of using the 7 suggestions that John sent us, plus the number of people that can be in there. I'd like to discuss and vote on reinstating having the building inspector handle the septic plan reviews. So those are the 3 items I'd like to bring up. Does anybody object to me covering those in this meeting?
No.
Okay, so seeing no objections, I'm going to start with the first one, TA next steps. John sent us an example of a contract that could be used to search for a new TA. The search would be done by the same company that John works for. So, they have an extensive network of folks. Also, that means that we would be able to use other resources than John to do all the work associated with searching for a TA. Given his limited hours, that could be an advantage to us because, there's a lot for him to do otherwise. So one of the things we should talk about is whether or not we want to take that approach or strategy. And then the second part in my mind is a discussion on when we might want to do that. Certainly we could discuss doing that immediately or think about doing that immediately. I'd like folks to think about or at least consider that, every time we change the TA, there's a little bit of turmoil. I'm not saying it's, all necessarily bad, but every time you switch, there's definitely extra work and stuff. So, maybe it isn't a good idea to try to find somebody immediately. But I think if we don't find somebody relatively soon, I think you have to recognize that John's hours are limited. If Tamworth is successful in hiring their TA, John might be able to give us some more hours, starting probably September, maybe late August, September. I don't think Tamworth, given where they're at, will move much quicker than that. And, bluntly speaking, if we start our search now, we wouldn't really be, I don't think we'd be looking at really being able to figure out who or hire somebody before then either way. So those are the things that I've thought about, at least in terms of what we might be able to do. And I thank John for at least proposing a contract or a way that we might get some extra help. I'd like to open it up to the other board members one by one and just ask you what your thoughts are, because I want to go down through each person. So Matt, would you mind going first, or am I putting you
Yeah.
in the spot?
Nope, that's fine. So when I first read John's thoughts about having MRI do the search for us, my first thought was sort of like, well, why would we need them to do that? We can handle that on our own. But then within about 30 seconds, I was able to list off 10 reasons why we need MRI to do that for us. So my preference at this moment would actually be to farm that out. Yep.
So let's stick to the question of farming it out versus us/John trying to do it. Beth, how do you feel?
Farm it out.
Okay, Tim?
I was the same thing. I started reading it, and then I said, look at what John can stick with the town stuff, and somebody else can be doing that other stuff, and 2 thumbs up for me. Yeah.
And Pam, how do you feel?
I agree fully of farming it out, or having them do the legwork on that.
Okay. Yeah, and I have to say I concur, not just from the legwork and letting John focus on this stuff, but the other thing is that then whoever is a candidate, sometimes when a TA is searching for their replacement, that creates some weird logistics and feelings. So, okay, so it sounds like we're in consensus on that. What are people's thoughts in terms of whether to start the search now, or maybe wait a couple months and target trying to get through this period by hook or crook through the end of the budgeting season? So Pam, you want to speak to that, I'm sure.
I think we need to start now. People are in transition between different towns and all. I think administrators and those that have those qualifications may be at points because of all that is happening, that they're looking for change, looking for a shift. And there might be some out there that are looking for different positions in different places. If we wait too long, I think other towns and places are going to be snatching up whoever's available by the time we're looking. So I think we need to be searching now.
Okay. Matt, how do you feel?
Yeah, I tend to agree that we should start now. Worst case scenario is we call it a failed search if we don't get a good candidate. So my preference would be to start now for fear of missing the perfect person. Yep.
Tim, how do you feel?
I don't want to give John up, but we
Well,
no, I know, I understand. No, we got to think of something long term. So no, I'm all in favor for getting the ball rolling.
yeah, well, I think that this, I'm sorry, Beth, go ahead.
Maybe John wants to apply.
You're muted, John. We couldn't hear you.
Muted, yeah.
He muted himself when he swore.
No, there's a reason I retired and I want to spend more time. This year, I haven't been able to do much traveling. I'm hoping I can get back to traveling again soon, but I'm willing to help out, but I do not envision this being a long-term.
Okay, so it sounds to me like we're ready to start. If that's the case, then I think we should entertain a motion
Motion for MRI to start.
to hire MRI to start for the contract terms outlined in the agreement that John just sent us recently. Do I have a motion to that effect? Thank
I'll
you,
make
Tim.
a
You can second it, Pam.
I will second it.
Okay, great. Is there any further discussion? Because if we vote on this, we can all sign it via Adobe. So I don't think we need to authorize somebody.
I think we should be the ones to sign that anyway.
Yeah, we'll do it as a board. I feel more comfortable.
Correct.
Okay, is there any further discussion on this then? Okay, so then we have a motion and a second to hire MRI per the contract that they sent us to do the search and find us a good TA. Roll call vote. Pam,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
and Beth.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
You didn't record your own vote, Mr. Chair.
Oh, yes, thank you. I
He
voted yes.
hasn't all night.
Yeah. Well, you know, if at least three of you vote yes, my vote is superfluous, isn't it?
Correct.
I guess it's useful to know where I stand. Okay. Yes. Okay. So at a previous meeting, I think we ran into perhaps what we just ran into in this very meeting, where we discussed some stuff, agreed on some stuff, but maybe we didn't actually vote on it. So I'd like to do that relative to the meeting room, the town meeting room. And so what I'm looking for is a motion that basically says the meeting room is open for use. We're up to the 12 people that we discussed, provided that they follow state, federal, and the current local guidelines, of which right now, John and the committee that he worked with has identified 7. That could be updated. So what we're voting on is the local requirements. And if John updates that via the help from the committee, the staff and stuff, then it gets updated and that becomes what people follow. We're not going to revote this every time. John's the TA, he consults with the staff and the other folks there. And if he feels it needs to be changed, then he will change it and notify everybody. So we're really voting to say, this is the starting point. John may update it and it's 12 people. And if, for example, then the number changes, then we may have to come back. The other provision would be that the committee chairs are responsible for making sure that their committee follows the guidelines and makes whatever adjustments to their procedures that they need to do to adhere to that policy. So if, for example, the planning board wants to have visitors come in or whatever, then they need to think about how to keep the number at the right number and all the other things to meet within the parameters that we've set. So we're not going to get into individual details for every individual committee or board. That's up to the board chair, and obviously they'll, I'm sure, consult their boards, board members and stuff. But we are just going to provide the general guidelines for how to do it. Is everybody clear on what the motion is and what we're trying to accomplish? Okay, so it was long-winded, but basically the motion goes as follows. To open up the meeting hall for our boards and committees per the local, federal, and state guidelines as published, most recent published, with the committees making any adjustments to suit their particular needs. Do I have a motion to that effect?
Are you setting a number?
We already did, it was 12.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
It should-
sorry. Yes, it's to set it at 12. Yes,
That needs to be part of the motion.
yeah.
It does. Thank you,
Okay.
John.
So let's reiterate it again. So to set the number for 12, to open up the meeting hall, maximum number 12, per the local, state, and federal guidelines, the committees making adjustments to suit their specific needs. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Thank you, Matt. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Beth. Further discussion? John?
Yeah, I wanted to, for the sake of the public that's watching, read what the committee on June 17th came out with recommendations, and the committee consisted of Robert Young, Beth Boudreau, Susan Austin, Lisa Lamache, and Diana Brown, and also the health officer, Jackie Lambert, was not there, but she's on the committee. So number one, safety mask requirement. Wipes will be available, as is spray on the tables. Continual electronic meetings while they're meeting in the room physically. Enhanced cleaning, especially the bathrooms, and we have added cleaning. We also have a fogging disinfectant for town hall. Each committee will need a plan for staff safety, meeting exit and entry, setup of the room, etc. Planning board will need a plan to make documents visible to remote access. Offices will be off limit to the public, and good consistent signage will be needed. So that is what came out of that committee. There was also a staff recommendation that's not part of this motion, but which I am working on, which is to put up plexiglass along the railing of the stage so that it would separate the area behind the stage area from the area where the meeting was occurring. I did have a contractor come through to look at the proposed redesign of space in the meeting area, which is in the office area, which is another subject, but I'll bring that up later.
Okay, so everybody's clear on what we're talking about? So we had a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay,
Al?
hearing. Oh, Tim, go ahead.
Can we add into that questionnaire that John put out too? For every meeting, they gotta fill this out, or they gotta?
Yes. Good
do they
idea.
need to- Do they need to do that, or?
That would be a good idea, Tim. I agree.
Yeah, it would.
Take their temperature and to verify that they're not sick. I'm starting to require that of all staff coming to town hall.
Like I just printed it out, so it's something you wanna, the questionnaire that he sent out.
Yeah, is that, are you comfortable with that as it stands, John? Is that ready for production, so to speak?
Oh yeah, that's absolutely ready.
Yeah, it's pretty standard.
Yes, I copied another town and just changed the name.
Ooh,
Yeah.
It is. It's standard. Anywhere I go, I get one of those.
Yeah.
Okay, so do we want to amend the motion to include that checklist? Or what is it called, Tim?
The health screening
The health
questionnaire,
screening.
Town of Northwood
Yeah.
health screening questionnaire.
Yeah. To do
So
health
I'll amend my motion to include the completion of the health screening
Questionnaire.
questionnaire.
Okay. Okay, so now I believe we have 4 points to this. We have 12 people, state, federal, local guidelines. Actually, you know, and the local guidelines include the 7-point list, as currently includes the 7-point list and the health questionnaire. And then the individual committees will adjust as they need to meet their special circumstances. Is that correct? Okay,
Sounds
so
good.
that's the amended motion. Is there further discussion on the amended motion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Tim,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
and Hal is yes. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Especially since this came up at the planning board meeting. I know they're anxious to get back into the swing of things and meeting face to face and get folks in there. So I know they appreciate it too. Okay, next up, I'm looking for a motion for our local building inspector to reinstate septic plan approvals here in town as opposed to just sending them to the state. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So
I
moved.
will make that motion.
Oh, good. Pam can have it, yeah.
Woo-hoo.
Oh, okay, so Pam and then Tim seconded it.
And then you go to discussion, correct?
John, did you want to say something about this?
Yeah, we're not approving the septic design there. That's so he can inspect it
Expected.
during construction. Just to be
Okay.
clear on what.
I'm sorry, yeah.
And again, this is just something that was temporarily suspended because we just did not have the personnel or the time. So this is something that really, really is important that is done. So I'm all for this.
Yeah, so like in the interim, like I just had a septic system put in one of my properties. Just the state came out and looked at it, nobody else did. So now we'll have local inspection. So is everybody clear on what we're voting on? Sounds like it. So roll call vote. Matt,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
and Hal is yes. Okay, before we move on to the town administrator's report, there's one other item I would like to mention. I got an email or a copy of an email from the library trustees related to a potential gift, or maybe it's a trust fund. I'm not exactly sure. But anyway, it's a donation to the town from the same gentleman, Mr. Grano, that helped us with the library addition. My plan is to see if we can get myself, the library trustee chair, perhaps Donna Bunker, and Mr. Grano on a Zoom call just to discuss this a little bit more, understand what he's trying to do. He mentioned that maybe, there might be some synergy with some other trust funds, or maybe, some ways to have things work together. So we need to understand that. So I thought I'd try to pull those folks together and get some more information and then come back to the board. Ultimately, the board needs to approve the acceptance of any funds. So I don't feel like we know enough yet to ask you to do that. So I'm going to try to get those details with the help of folks from the library. Does anybody have any questions or concerns with me doing that?
No.
And again, that's just my purpose is informational and trying to really understand it. It comes back to you folks for the full approval. Okay. That's it on my list. Thank you for handling those additional items. I appreciate that. Tim, did you want to bring something up?
The email that Bob Young sent you and John about maybe setting up something at the ball field for the PPE.
Oh, yes. Now, I thought I sent a note back to John saying,
I kind of just assumed Bob's on the last sentence.
did I not? Okay. If I did not do this, my apologies. I thought I sent a note back to them and BCC'd everybody saying, I thought it was John's. Oh, okay. Let's just have that discussion now. I looked at it and I said, well, if the rec director was here, she would have handled it. I don't think we would have come to the board for anything, but let's just, how do the other folks feel? John, do you want to speak to
I was
that?
just going to bring it up for information to my report that I plan to do it unless the board directed me not to.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, there we go. Okay. So it sounds like we have some consensus on that. So do we want to have John go into his department reports or into his reports and go over things that he has?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Pam.
Yeah, I have one thing in relation to PPE also. In Mr. Young's email of July 8th, section 5 specified that they were going to ask the town of Northwood to be a distribution site for PPE for moderators and clerks from surrounding towns to pick up their gear here. So the way I read it was that they were asking if Northwood would be a drop-off spot and if we would be the place where moderators and clerks, in this regards the September and November election, so the personal protective equipment for those elections. And his date on that section 5 on the July 8th was August 19th to 28th. So I'm wondering if we have that, if John's got that, or if it kind of just slid through because we get so many of these daily.
Well, that's what we're talking
I
about.
thought that's what we were
That's what we're
talking
talking about right here.
No,
Yeah.
there were two issues. One
Okay.
was the, at the sports or for the school. And then one was, this is a separate one for people from surrounding towns. That's the way I read it for the July
Right.
8th.
They couldn't do it at Cole Brown because school's starting, so they're gonna move it to the ball field. This is what this
Right,
is here.
and that was like Article 6 or 7 of his letter.
Sounds like we better check the list.
Yeah, your dates are totally different. It was two separate PPE distributions.
Well, let's ask this. Okay, yeah,
I plan to authorize the requested date for August 28th that has been requested by Homeland Security to use the athletic field. If there was a
For-
request for another date, I would intend to authorize that as well.
Right, now
I'm
the
assuming I have
28th,
the direction from the board.
so John, the 28th was distribution to whom?
Election officials.
Okay, gotcha. So we're on the same page. Their dates were between the 19th and 28th. So you're talking just one day?
Yeah, they've moved it. Yeah, the
Okay.
original date had been the 19th, but now it's going to be the 28th.
Okay,
I assume it's arranged throughout the state and the 28th is the day they're coming to.
so
Northwood.
essentially, we just need to tell you that it's okay to schedule that.
Tell me if it's not okay. I plan to
Tell you if
let
it's
them
not
schedule
okay.
it.
yeah, the way I had said it, Pam, was that I thought it was within his purview to do that.
Yep.
And we would only, go into it further really if the board felt that they needed to make that decision instead of John.
Or if somebody knew the rec field was going to be tied up with a parade or something I didn't know about.
Okay. Yeah, the way I read it was there were two separate parties being distributed to.
Okay.
The only thing I would just ask is if you can copy our league coordinator when you confirm that date, Ken Seymour, or let me know and I can send it to him.
Okay. Okay, Matt, I'll let you know and you can get a hold of.
Yep. Thank you.
Good point, Matt. Thank you.
I think of that August 28th, I know the kids need to practice and have a game, but I think this is a main priority. So
This takes precedence, yeah. So
Okay, no,
just
okay,
letting
yeah.
him know not to schedule.
Okay,
game
I thought you were,
That's-
okay. No, yeah,
No,
we're on
no,
the same
just to let him
page.
know that we don't have access to the field.
Yeah, okay, no, perfect.
Okay, good. So John, do you want to go down your list of stuff?
Yeah. Lakes Region Public Access update. I don't get cable TV for Northwood. Has anyone gone on there and looked and seen if it's corrected?
Well, Lisa said she changed it, so I trust her.
We haven't heard back
I
from,
just wanted to make sure somebody had watched the TV that is on the Northwood cable system to see that that change took effect. In other words, I think Lisa did what was supposed to be done. I wanted to make sure it worked. That's why I was asking, has anyone checked channel 12?
I'll
Or
tell you what,
whatever, 25, 26, whatever channel it is that
I
you're
think if
on.
it wasn't changed, Joe Holmes' daughter would let us know, so.
Deborah.
Okay,
Well, you know what? Lisa, would you mind just sending Deborah a note saying, hey, let us know if you see the update? I think that'd be the cleanest. Okay, good. Well, thanks, Lisa. Appreciate you doing that. Whoops. Uh-oh, John started screen sharing.
Oh, look at that.
Wow, he just took control.
Look
Wow.
at that. See
I
that?
like that in a guy. Yeah.
We already got our copy. See that?
okay. To the far left of your screen is Route 4. This is the hall that goes down to the meeting room, and this is the entryway. And what the plan is, and we had a builder look at it today, and he thought it was very reasonable and doable, is we're going to put a wall across and create an office out of space that's within that entry area. The stairs that come up will come into that office. The door going into where Lisa, Susan, and Linda are is going to be removed so that the counter is going to be facing the entry area out here with the administrative assistant that we want to hire in this area. Then there'll be offices created, 3 offices created in this space, more or less where they currently use their cubicles to make it work. This is the current town administrator room. This is the current copier room, which are unchanged. And then for the, there'd be, where the building inspector is right now, there would be an office created basically following the back line of the cubicle as well. So there'd be a door. This would allow for the concern that is out there as far as COVID goes is the aerosol particles and the spread of the virus through air. And the best way to stop that is to have separate air systems in each of these as far as it being separated from the rest, so that the space is kept from one person in one area cough, and it's not going to go to all the other areas as well. So that is what we're looking at. We're in the process of collecting estimates on what it will be to do. It's a fairly simple project in terms of getting it done. We're going to save and reuse the doors. We're not going to tear up the floor and redo the floor. We will have to redo the electric lights. Two of the rooms are going to need air put into them, and we're thinking we'd use window air conditions initially as far as that goes. But by and large, the cost is not that great, and we hope to have it covered by COVID. That's the plan, the governor's COVID money. So I just wanted to run that by you. That is what is out there for the RFP. I didn't know if anyone had any comments.
Board members, Tim, did you want to say something?
So the finance, after we get all said and done, the finance is going to be in that office, not out in the big room in that office where we moved her out there temporarily while the rec's gone, but eventually she's coming back into the new part.
He or she, depending who we hire.
Yeah, it depends upon some situations, but that's the basic plan.
Nope.
I would think that the space that's the rec could well end up being the building inspector, because he could meet with his clients in the big room and have more room to spread out and everything. But at this point, I'm going to recommend moving finance back into the rec room as far as security goes. Also, we're going to have to phase this so that we have people working in different areas or working from home. So I think we can work around as far as where we have staff working and where the carpenters are working.
Do we have a ballpark number?
Not yet.
John, I think the other, I'm sorry, other board members, do you want to make any comments? I think the only other thing that I discussed with John when I first saw this was that perhaps we might want to consider flip-flopping where the finance person sits and the land use specialist sits, because ultimately some of the stuff related to building and code and assessing is more related to the land use, and it might make more sense to have that person over next where the finance specialist office is now slated, and then the finance person over in the other office. I don't think that changes anything in terms of what we would construct, but it might affect how we ultimately seat people.
Right. I don't want any one person to think this is exactly where staff is going to be based on the fact we need to have a discussion with everybody. I need all the stakeholders, the staff involved with as far as how we end up where we're sitting at the end. But this is the plan that I'm getting quotes on right now.
That's great. Yeah.
Good job.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I had one question.
Sure.
So building desk and assessing desk, that's okay to have them in one room because they're not really separated by a wall, just kind of like around the corner.
They're almost never there together.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're around a corner. The assessor is doing a lot of stuff remotely.
Okay.
The building inspector is putting a lot of time in. I told him to put in as many extra hours as he needed for the next 2 or 3 weeks in order to get caught up. I think he probably put in an 11-hour day today, but
Oh, wow.
I mean,
Yeah.
he was in there, I think at 7. He was there when I got there at 7:30, and he was still there when I left at 4:30.
Well, there's stuff to catch up on, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, no question. Okay, so that was the first thing I had for my report.
It
The
looks
next,
great. You're really good with graph paper.
actually, that's Lisa's credit.
Lisa.
Did that on Excel.
Nice.
Did a
She
great job.
excelled on it.
I mean, we had
Oh,
everybody
Excel.
contribute ideas, but yeah,
Very good, Lisa.
he did very well on that. So I see the property tax receipts were put on my list, and basically we did pretty well as far as percent collected compared to past years. My experience talking with some of the other managers around is it wasn't as bad as we thought it might be this first billing. I think most of us are concerned what the second billing will be like. The extra money for unemployment's running out. All the money that went to the small businesses to help them. If they can't agree in Congress on how they're going to put more federal money in, I think that come November, the collection rate will drop off, and we may have to think about a TAN. But at this point, I think we're doing quite well.
Yeah,
They said on the Titanic the day before.
The numbers did look pretty equivalent. And I think you're right, that the funds people have right now still seems to be holding up. We'll just have to keep a close eye on it again, as you said, in November. We don't want any surprises, and we want to plan ahead if we need to do a TAN.
Yep. Yeah, it takes, depending upon your bank, it can take 5 or 6 weeks to get a TAN.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah,
like the old days when I could take a piece of paper and write the numbers on and go down to the bank and sit there and walk away with, the
Yeah,
TAN. Things have gotten a lot tighter since the crash in 08 and all of the banking restrictions that were put on.
right.
Um,
Okay, so we'll keep an eye on that.
Okay, the next thing is comp time policy for salaried employees. Salary employees don't really get comp time. They get flex time, in which they can flex their hours somewhat, but they have a responsibility to do the work that needs to be done. And I know the question was raised about highway in particular, and the way you may need to address that in some way, but comp time's not going to be the way you need to address it.
Yeah, I'd just like to add to that. Really, it's up to the person's supervisor in terms of, if somebody works extra hours or something, how we deal with that. And, certainly as somebody that worked salaried previously, my experience was, if you worked an all-nighter or did, some things over the weekend to get a piece of equipment or something started up, your boss might say, hey, leave early on Wednesday afternoon or something like that. But my experience is, and I would like to at some point get this documented, but I think we basically need to tell folks you're salaried, you need to work the hours that's required to get the job done. And if there are adjustments, it's adjustments within that week or the week immediately following by your supervisor and you discussing that, not something that we document or carry as something that you're going to get paid for.
I don't have anything to add on E and F at this time, but I do have a non-public session that I'll need.
We did talk about, John, excuse me, we did talk about the part-time hours at the last meeting. Matt brought that up preemptively, and I thought we settled that. Is that not correct? We set the date. There was one question in my mind. Did we actually vote on that date?
Yeah.
I think we did.
Okay, then that is indeed all set. Yeah, processes and procedures documents. I'm just going to say it to everybody. there's a lot of other stuff going on. We're short on resources. John, gives us as many hours as he can, and we'd still like more. We're just going to have to wait on this and struggle through for now. To try to add to this, to try to deal with the PO policies and the PO process that admittedly, you're going to see it in the audit, is not good. We got to get more resources in, and we got to get things back to normal before we can consider getting some of this other stuff done. And I know it's going to be painful because some of these things would help us, but we're just too short at this point to even think about this in my mind. I'll entertain discussion on that if people feel differently, but we haven't hired all the people we need to hire yet. And without that, I don't even know how you'd even do some of these policies. So, John?
You brought up audit. I'm going to put that, I've asked to have that on the agenda for 2 weeks from now. We've got a copy of the audit.
Yeah, okay.
Mailing it out to everybody, and we'll put it on the website.
Okay, and, yeah, okay, you're going to put it on the website for us?
Well, I suspect it's going to be Susan, but somebody's going to try to get it on the website.
Okay, yeah, that's what I meant, yeah.
Yeah, and I did want to bring up that beach testing. I got that email, and I would like some clarification. My understanding is that we didn't budget for any water testing, and we're not planning any water testing, but I didn't want to answer the person who sent the email because I wasn't sure, but I'm assuming that we're just not going to test.
Yeah, I mean, there's no line for it under the rec budget. I know that because historically it's been done by the state and the state cut it.
Yep.
So
They own body of water, so.
Yeah, anything over 10 acres or whatever
acres.
the acreage is state.
Got those.
So I do need a non-public, and I would like it under A and B is what I need it for, hiring and personnel.
Okay, I'll tell you what we're going to do. Let's take a 5-minute break, and then we'll vote to go into non-public under A and
B.
B. And then,
Chairman, do we have an appointment tonight on the agenda?
well,
didn't come.
Okay, I just want to miss something.
No,
no, you're right, but I didn't, let me ask Lisa or Susan, are the Benedettos online?
You had asked me to send them an email, or actually, I'm sorry, John, and I think it was you, Hal, to get more information from them, and they had to fill out the agenda request form to be on the agenda. When I sent that out to them, I said, once I hear back from you, I'll send you the link, and I never heard back from them.
Okay. Yeah, and okay, so if they're not online, then that explains why. But thank you for that diligence on that, Lisa. I really appreciate that we're trying to get the information up front. Tim, you've mentioned several times, like, this is the first time I'm hearing about it. And it looked like from her email request, they just want to provide us some additional information. And if we can get that without them coming to the meeting, that's just as good. They can send in the documentation, and then we can set it as an agenda item. I want to control expectations here. If they were to tell us something in a meeting here, I think our first response is going to be, okay, thank you. Now we've got everything that we need to consider. We'll let John and other appropriate people investigate and come back with, some information and recommendations as to how we handle it. So if they communicate with you, let's make sure that we do control the expectations on that, please. Okay.
I make a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A, A and B, John?
A3 to A and B.
A and B.
Yeah. Okay, A and B. Do I have a second on that?
Second,
Thank you, Matt.
Second.
Roll call vote. Matt,
yes.
Beth.
Yes.
Oh, I made a mistake. Sorry. Beth is first.
Yes.
Thank you, Beth. Pam,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
and now Matt.
Yes.
Thank you. I just want to keep things fair. And Hal is yes. Okay, so what I'd like to do, who's going to control the meeting?
Lisa's gonna give it to Matt.
Well,
John,
John's a host.
Oh, John's a host? Oh,
He's just
Okay.
gonna move us into over there.
Okay,
Or you can just
Whatever's over there.
make me a host and I'll do it.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm going to make Matt a co-host because I'm not used to putting people in, and I would
Hate to lose him.
I think that I'm the host. I don't know if, can you do that?
Yeah.
Dawn?
no,
Lisa,
I can
you're the
put
host.
I think maybe I can I put you into, I can't put you into a meeting room. Yeah, well, you're host.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to Matt, and then Matt, you'll just text me when you come out.
Okay,
If
good.
you do,
That way.
I can wait too, so.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so we voted to go into non-public. What I'd like to do is, let's take a 5-minute break to stretch and refresh and all that kind of stuff. So
She's dancing.
I am.